Good morning, good morning, good morning. Dr. Beulah here, and this is the UC vlog. Sorry for the delay in getting started this morning. The camera wasn't working, and this is like, I'm gonna start a series on old guy tips because ever since I turned 40, I'm finding more and more reasons why I'm becoming an old guy. Today's lesson is the F10 key. Turns your camera on and off. I thought maybe my driver was broken, but it's simply I turned my camera off via the F10 key. So yeah, if your camera's not working, before you go diving deep into updating drivers and resetting the device in the systems manager, just check your F10 key. But anyhow, top of the morning to you. Today's UC vlog, I had a question come across my world on the topic of clinic location. And so what we're going to talk about today is for docs that are getting ready to graduate and set up their own practices, or maybe you've been in practice for a little bit of time and you're looking at moving. If you're an upper cervical chiropractor, I think there are special considerations in selecting your clinic location and your layout. And so I want to talk about that. Just a quick heads up. What we're going to be discussing is one of the things that we'll be discussing in the To Your Success webinar series coming up in early February, in 3 Fridays from now. The next webinar is going to be all about internal branding and marketing. And clinic location is part of your brand. So we are going to be talking about that. And just another reminder, the dates have been set for the next upper cervical boot camp, which is a hands-on experience for anybody in the upper cervical world, regardless of technique. This is not a technique certification. This is a time to slip and check and improve your clinical skills in upper cervical. That's going to be at Sherman College the last weekend in March. So that being said, let's talk about clinic location. So I'm going to start with, if I were to graduate today, where would I set up, or how would I choose the location for my first upper cervical clinic? Okay, so if you're a student, this is especially for you. But if you're already in practice, you can glean some ideas and insights, especially if you're setting up a satellite clinic. This could be for you as well. Because your first clinic and your satellite clinic are similar in a lot of ways. But so number one option is actually to set your clinic up inside of another clinic, or a shared office suite, something that already has established brand value. I know a recent graduate and friend of mine set up inside of a collaborative dental practice, which makes a lot of sense, believe it or not, because they use cone beam CT imaging, and because it's an easy referral source. A lot of patients in a dental practice have come to the dentist with TMJ issues and migraine headaches and neck pain, shoulder pain, and all these things. And most dentists have a very limited tool set to be able to manage that. So they're more than happy to integrate with you and to refer to you if they know about you. And if you're part of the practice, that's an easy one. But yeah, you could even look at other upper cervical clinics, other chiropractic clinics, pain centers. You can set yourself up in someone else's facility and then benefit from the brand value that they've already established in their community. And that's an important thing before you do that, is to check the brand value, check the Google reviews. What does the brand of the location feel like when you're pulling into the parking lot? Where's it located in the town? What side of the train tracks is it on? Is it on the good side or the bad side of the tracks? Those are all really important considerations. It's funny, there's something else that I think is important to talk about when we talk about location. A common thing that you'll hear, and that I would even say, in the beginning at least, is that commercial real estate is not as important. We are more of a destination business. So being on the corner of the main intersection in town comes with it a high price tag. So think shopping malls, think main intersections, things like that. In the beginning, I would suggest that that's not as important. Your presence and your street frontage, so to speak, is going to be your online presence and you. So people will get to know who you are and where you are based off of relationship with you, your patients, and your online presence before they're going to see any, they're going to drive by a chiropractic clinic and be like, oh, I need to go see the chiropractor. Because if most walk-in patients are usually looking to have their neck or back cracked. Now there are exceptions, obviously. But, unless you are offering that type of service and same-day appointments and things like that, which at a certain point you won't be able to in an upper cervical clinic because you need to do imaging and there's a process and an onboarding system and things like that, then the walk-ins off the street are usually not your best clientele. So you don't need that street frontage brand. Now, there's an asterisk with that. And the asterisk is, I think over time, it makes sense to be in a location where you're visible, because obviously, just with brand and just recognizability. But in the beginning, that's not a priority. So the sweet spot would be if you're looking to sublease in someone else's clinic, if they have that road front brand that everybody knows who they are and where they are, and they've been in the community a long time, things like that, that'd be awesome. Now, short of opening inside of someone else's clinic, what I would do is I would look at Google Maps. I would look at where you want to open your practice, and I would look at all the major intersections, all the highways and interstates, and I would want to be within 15 minutes of the exit. I'd want to be somewhere, because you're going to be attracting patients that are going to be driving, 30, 50 miles, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to drive a distance to see you. And so you want to make it as convenient as possible to remove the pain from seeing you. So if you can be near the major roads, obviously that helps. So if you're reading between the lines here, what that means is you don't have to be street front in the main shopping plaza of town, but you can be off the same exit of the main shopping plaza of town, but you can be across the street from it. You can be 2 blocks away from it, right? And if you want to know where the main intersections and where people are, you could look up where the hospital is, look up where the Walmarts are, look up where the Burger or McDonald's are. Like, look at all the major brands and see where they're located, because that's where community is. That's where people shop. That's where people work. And you don't have to be in the main retail strips, but you can be 2 blocks from them, and easy to get to off the interstate. The next piece in terms of location would be easy to describe on how to get there. You know what I mean? If you're like, hey, I'm behind the Walmart in Cranberry, or I am around the corner from the main bank, or from the main library. You can capitalize on the brand equity of these established businesses that are paying a premium for retail, and they've been in a community for a long time, just by being in their proximity. So you can describe your location based off of their location. And it just needs to be easy to describe and how to get to. What's up, Kind Spine Chiropractic Center? Thanks for saying hey. Thanks for dropping by. So you want to be easy to get to, easy to describe, and then the actual location itself, you really have to think about what it feels like in the brand when you're rolling up on it. And I think if we're talking about upper cervical practices, I think that it is a higher end brand. Sometimes I remember one time I thought it would be nice to be an orthodontist, because orthodontists have a fun brand, and I'm kind of a fun guy. I like to think of myself that way. And man, they just get to play with kids all day. You know what I mean? So they got music blaring. They got, it's just kind of like a party every time. Now, there are some upper cervical clinics that create parties in their office, and it's just one big happy family, and that's fine. But I think for a lot of upper cervical people, it attracts analytical doctors, and it attracts a more methodical analytical process. And you also attract patients that are typically in a lot of pain, that have a lot of functional issues. So sometimes the chaos of a busy practice or a chaotic practice, not a busy's not bad, but a chaotic practice is going to rub functional patients the wrong way, because it's overstimulation. You know what I mean? If the sights and sounds and smells and everything else are too much all at once, then it's overstimulating, right? So I think the brand, at least that I've seen in the upper cervical circles that I run in, tends to be very professional. It kind of encourages professional referrals from other medical doctors and therapists in your town, and it garners a lot of respect from your patients, or so it should. And by respect, I don't mean I'm wearing a white coat and you have to do what I tell you to do. But brand is everything. Brand is what the place looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like all of the senses being fed on a high level. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So everything's got to be considered. The sounds, the sights, the smells, everything. Obviously the customer experience. And all of that starts with the exterior, right? We're going to judge a book by the cover. Now, we shouldn't, but we do. We judge people based off of exterior observations in the beginning. It's a first impression, and that starts with the building itself. I always share the story that I was in a strip mall and I moved into a corporate building. I cut my office space down by 3, I'm in a third of space of where I used to be, and my rent was cut in half. But people going to that new location that was, again, a lot smaller than the first location, and they had to get in an elevator and go up on the 4th floor now. The reaction was, wow, you're moving up in the world, Doc, congratulations. Even though I was spending half as much in my rent, and the square footage was 1/3 of when I started, because it's a professional building. It's made out of marble or granite, one of the two. It's very clean. So you want to be, if you can, you don't have to be in a professional building, although I think that really works for medical referrals, is if you can be in a medical complex. I think that's great. But you want to be in a place that, if you're in your own private home that you purchase, or in your own building, make sure that it has a quality brand when you're pulling into the parking lot. Things are neat, things are tidy, things are well taken care of, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, and people are going to pick up on that. The last thing I'll say about clinic location is the size and space of your clinic itself. I mentioned a second ago how the space we're in now is 1/3 of the space we were when we opened. One of the biggest mistakes new graduates make, at least that I made, and I think that a lot of us make, is when we go and we shadow docs and we see their clinics, we kind of get in our mind that we want to emulate that. And sometimes the clinics that we're observing are not the first clinic location for that doctor. It's the second or third clinic location. And so it's really important that you are smart and realistic about your overhead and your expectations in the beginning. Expectation management is the key to happiness and success in life. And you want to keep your overhead low, meaning you don't need a large space. Don't bite off more than you can chew. The space I'm in now, just to give you an example, and this is my 15th year in practice, and we have 2 doctors, myself and Dr. Emily Savage, is 970 square feet. So you don't need more than 1,000 square feet, I'm telling you right now. Now, we are looking at expanding. We do want more square feet for our clinic as we currently are, But can I tell you, if you're one single doc, you can easily get by with under 1,000 square feet. You really don't need any more than that. Now, if you want some room and you get a good deal, 1,200 square feet, 15 max, go for it, knock yourself out. Especially if you have an internal bathroom, that's going to add some space. We're in a corporate building, so our bathroom is part of the hall, that's shared space. So maybe 1,200, 1,500 max. But you really don't need more than that. And keep in mind too, in the beginning, if there's a facility in your town that does cone beam CT scanning, you can outsource your imaging. Keep your overhead low. You do not want that financial pressure in the first couple years of your practice. And I think that's about it, guys. I think that it's a good question to ask. There's a million different layouts we could talk about, and the more particulars on brand and how the clinic looks we'll go over in the next webinar. If you're interested in joining that, you can go onto my Instagram, and the link is in the bio of the Instagram. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Please do join me back here every week, Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. Eastern, for the UC vlog. All right, we'll see you guys.